What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of Czar Chat, brought to you by CardZar.com. As always, I am Luke. Follow me on Instagram at CardZar. He is SP the Titan on IG. SP rocking the fresh Pro Bowl uni. Tell the people who that is.
Man, I made 9-year-old SP's dreams come true. One of my childhood dreams. I saw these Pro Bowl jerseys. First off, my favorite part, the lava volcano Hawaii Pro Bowl logo. Before Eddie George went to the Ohio State and became my boy, and they, became SP the Titans lore of everything else. I was a Cowboys fan. They were the hot team. They were awesome. They were on TV every week, so I was watching them. Thought they were great. So Emmitt Smith, loved me some Emmitt Smith. So as the sales, I was doing Christmas shopping for everybody else. Literally the last few Christmas shopping purchases I made for others. This was 30% off, and I was like, that would make 9-year-old Sean lose his mind. So I had to have it. So I copped it. It just came in the other day.
Makes sense. Beautiful, beautiful jersey. I'm very jealous. Some may say my jersey is just as fresh as your jersey, but in a more ironic way. I'm rocking the Peter Warrick. Much like you, huge just fan of the Bengals because they were so good. No, I'm kidding. I'm messing with you. Big Florida State fan here. I thought Peter Warrick was the future of the NFL. Came out in 2000 with Tom
2000,
Brady.
yeah.
He was a first-round pick. Didn't work out. Did not work out. He eventually went to the Seahawks for a little bit. It's amazing how great of he was one of the best college receivers of all time. And when he got to the pros, he just absolutely fizzled out. So
he was a good returner in college too, right?
He was. He's a great returner. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so he kind of had a multifaceted game.
Yeah.
And it's not like guys like that have died out or whatever.
Right.
So I don't know what.
He got injured his rookie year, then he just never panned out. But he's one of my side PCs. Obviously, it's mainly Patriots, but the nostalgia in me, I have a few of Peter Warrick's autos. I have his Topps Chrome rookie. I think it's a PSA 9. Not a huge mark. Actually, it's funny. The Peter Warrick stuff still is not, it's not cheap and it's not expensive either, but considering he had no pro career whatsoever, his stuff is actually kind of expensive in that regard.
Well, the Florida State fan base is
Right.
strong overall, especially the generation of you and I, when they were in their heyday, when they're really killing it in the 90s and everything else in the early 2000s.
Yeah, and one of these days I'll rock the Chris Wanke jersey I got too.
Talk about not panning out.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, they knew he wasn't going to pan out. They knew he wasn't. But, hey, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Like I said, we're talking playoffs for the NFL. We have the NBA starting up, so some hype beasts are coming around. Just other awards like NFL MVP, NFL Offensive Player of the Award, or Player of the Year Award, and what's going to happen to those players' cards values as they get, these accolades and all that. So we'll be talking about that. And, we got Christmas coming up too. So maybe we'll dive into Christmas a little bit here because I'm sure, unfortunately, with the holidays, we probably won't be able to get episode 4 done next week, but the week after, perchance.
Absolutely. Hopefully.
Right. So, hey, we'll do a quick cheers. You're sipping the
brown good
stuff tonight?
Yeah, I went with the hard stuff tonight. Shout out to my brother-in-law.
Can't do that. I will vomit. In the middle of this. So, but speaking of not vomiting, I will not be vomiting if Baker Mayfield and Cleveland Browns can get it going as we get closer to the playoffs.
Smack my boys, I'll tell you that.
They did. And you know what? They almost beat the Ravens too on Monday night. So
that was a heck of a game.
Fantastic game. And as always, after Lamar got the poops, allegedly, or he had cramps.
Stomach cramps.
He's
back. Technically not lying.
Came back and on national TV, this guy right here, 2019 MVP. This card's available on CardZar.com in our eBay store. Came out, led the Ravens to a victory, drove down the field with a minute left. Justin Tucker, the greatest kicker of all time in my eyes. Field goal to win it all. That was a scenario of a national game that drew a ton of interest, obviously, on Monday Night Football. Not only did Lamar Jackson tear it up, but Baker Mayfield and the Browns tore it up. So as we get closer to the playoffs, who are some other guys, and talk about some of the Browns players or Ravens players that could either, make a play for the playoffs or will be in the playoffs? Who are a couple of guys you think we might start to see their value go up a little bit as we get closer to the playoffs?
Before I answer that, I cannot believe you said Tucker's the greatest kicker ever in your eyes when you had Vinatieri for so long.
I know.
That's crazy, but
I know, but Justin Tucker is that good. Guy hits
he is really good, but I'm just saying.
Like 60-yard bombs all the time.
Yeah, he is really good. I just can't believe you'd say that. So, but anyway, that's a whole other thing. So, yeah, man, I mean, I think, you hit the nail on the head. I think, the Browns and Baker Mayfield are really having an emerging year. Everybody's number one pick, so he had a lot of hype. And when he came in that first year, won some games, got everybody a little bit excited, but hadn't seen much since. But then this year, I mean, they've been really good. Like I said, they smacked my boys. I saw it up close. And I live in Cleveland, so I hear about it all the time. And I saw it really up close and personal when they jumped on the Titans. That score was not as close as the game was at all. And he looked really impressive. They all look sharp. So, I mean, they got a really good offense. They got a lot of weapons, and of course that 1-2 rushing attack. I mean, that's pretty unbelievable. So I agree with you. They're up there. I mean, especially if they can, they're going to be in the playoffs. I mean, Browns fans still won't believe it until they tell it's official, which I don't blame them either, but they'll be in the playoffs. And if they can win a game, guys like those guys can really, really skyrocket, I think, by winning a playoff game. But going back to the other opponent, you talked about the Ravens. And Lamar, yeah, I mean, obviously Lamar, he's had a little bit of a down year, had a big game on a big stage on Monday night to bounce back a little bit. But I'm going to go with one of his teammates as a guy that can emerge in the playoffs. I'm going to go with, not just because I have as many, but J.K. Dobbins, man. He's a guy that's been finding the end zone a lot. He's got a great pedigree. He was a stud at Ohio State, a second-round draft pick by them. A really good running back that's kind of coming along late, making Mark Ingram a little bit irrelevant not since he's come back, and Dobbins and Gus Edwards have really, taken the 1-2 punch behind Lamar on the rushing attack. So a guy, if they can make the playoffs, if they can win and squeak their way in, they could beat anybody. So I could see a guy like Dobbins really surging if he gets in the end zone and gets some good carries in the playoffs. So man, that impeccable.
Yeah, no, Dobbins for sure. And also too with him, I think he's going to be huge in fantasy football down the stretch run. Now that I were talking about this beforehand, Mark Ingram got 0 touches Monday night.
Nothing.
All Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins. So clearly Dobbins is the guy. I picked him up in a couple fantasy leagues, and what I've noticed is as these players do well for people's fantasy squads, you remember those guys and you're interested in picking up their autographs, their rookies and all that, thus increasing their value. So I do agree 100% that J.K. Dobbins could be a really, really nice add this, towards the end of the season. Another guy who I'm really high on too, and I think they'll definitely make the playoffs and he'll definitely be a huge part of that team, is Jonathan Taylor. So another impeccable. So I'm showing off the impeccable stash tonight. Taylor, 150 rushing yards last week. I think he had 2 touchdowns. The guy's finally getting out of the doghouse, putting up big numbers for the Colts, putting up numbers that fantasy owners expected when they drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round. I'm kicking myself in the ass in my dynasty league. I did take Clyde Edwards-Helaire, number 1 overall. Gun to my head, going back in time, I'd still do the same exact thing just from value alone based on where guys were going. But it's tough. Sometimes you just get too enamored in the in their landing spot as opposed to talent. And I'm not saying Edwards-Helaire is not going to be a good player, not going to pan out. But Jonathan Taylor had a 4.39 40-yard dash. He's a monster. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, I remember watching him week 1. As good as he is and as swift as he is, he can't get through the line of scrimmage on short yardage or goal line situations. And I'm just asking myself, why did I pass on Jonathan Taylor? Now, that being said, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be a good guy in the playoffs too. As it gets colder, the passing game in Kansas City might not be as high octane as it has been. Maybe they'll get going with the running game. We'll see. But I think there's a lot. I mean, it's pretty telling how talented this rookie class is this year.
Yeah, man. The thing I'll say about the difference between those two, I think it gets colder though, like you said. So you want to run the ball, and I feel like Taylor's more of a pound the rock guy, but we've seen that the cold doesn't really stop the Chiefs from spreading out and doing their thing and slinging the rock though either. So I think Indy, if they're going to be able to make some progress, it's going to be getting the run game going, getting the short pass game with Rivers going. But I think that means a lot of more opportunities for Jonathan Taylor rather than probably Edwards-Helaire when it comes down to it. So I think I'd probably lean more. As much as I don't want to admit something in the favor of the Colts, I mean, they got a good thing going and they're nipping right at the Titans' heels. It's 1-2 for the division. So I think both of them are going to be in the playoffs for sure. But I'm thinking Taylor, it's more of a impact here down the stretch and into the postseason.
That makes sense. A guy that I think is, again, with fantasy and playoffs, sad as this is Jalen Hurts. Phenomenal opening game, over 100 yards rushing, his first career start with the Eagles, has made Carson Wentz, ooh, that's a beautiful blue reactive, has made Carson basically irrelevant. I'd say let's not get crazy. Let's pump the brakes a little bit. It's been one game, but if he continues to play well, his cards are going to skyrocket. His fantasy value is going to skyrocket. And Carson Wentz will probably be looking for a new home next year, I'd guess. I'd say, either in Indianapolis, New England. Who else could use a quarterback? I mean, hell, maybe even at that point, maybe even New Orleans.
I've seen more pics photoshopped of him in Colts uniforms than I've seen of pics of from his own games this year on my social media. I don't know why, but yeah, you're right, man. And here's the thing, but you put Hurts in, what's a one game against the one or two best team in the conference, and you get the win. How do you take him out? How do you not ride it out with them and see what he can got and see if you make the playoff push with them, which, like you said, will make Carson Wentz irrelevant in Philadelphia anyway. And I'll tell you what, the Philly collecting base and the Philly fan base is pretty strong. So if that happens, if he can get him into the postseason, yeah, the Jalen Hurts cards are already skyrocketing because of the way the hobby is, but the Philly fan base will make sure they're going up too, trying to scoop them all up. So I can see Jalen Hurts going up big time in the stretch run here.
And it's funny too, because I guess I underestimated him, and I just thought of how he looked at Alabama, even though that was like 4 years ago. And I just remember him just being so mediocre. And I know obviously in Oklahoma, he totally changed it around. I was shocked that he played as well as he did his first year against a tough Saints defense. So bad I started the Saints defense over Seattle's defense playing the Jets. And literally the reason why I did not move on in my fantasy football playoffs last week. And no, I'm not bitter whatsoever. It would have been
you should be.
By 0.01 points. If
2020 has taught us anything that's consistent, it's you go against the Jets every time.
I know. That's why I'm starting the Rams in every single league this week. I started
they're going to feast.
Patriots. You better believe I'm starting them against the Jets. But another guy, and I'm cautioning myself when I say this, but I'm saying this because the opportunity for him to go up in value is he's at the bottom right now, so there's nowhere else to go. But we're talking NFC East, and we're talking a team that could make the playoffs. Alex Smith's leg was all effed up again last week. Dwayne Haskins came in. Can he do? I mean, we haven't seen much from Dwayne Haskins. I thought it was BS. He got pulled so quickly. Obviously, there's something going on there between him and Ron Rivera. Can Dwayne Haskins get some of his value back in the next few weeks?
I mean, I think there's nowhere to go but up, to be honest with you. With him, I'm seeing bundles of these prisms. We sent this in to SGC a long time ago, in the off season. And I'm like, all right, at 9, hope he has maybe have a Pro Bowl year. He gets yanked before the year even starts, it seems like. So, but you know what? As a football fan with no dog in the fight, I'd probably trust Ron Rivera and his leadership and his process. So give the kid another chance to come out from the other side of this. And like you said, anybody's in the position to win this division pretty much, well, except the Cowboys. But, so if
we said that this summer, we would have said, oh, the Cowboys are going to be running away with this division. It's crazy.
Yeah. Poor
Pay Dak a quadrillion dollars. A quadrillion.
I mean, he still led the league in passing a couple weeks after he was hurt. But anyway, yeah, that's pay Dak. But Haskins, he's got nowhere to go up right now. The division's still wide open, and now he's all of a sudden found himself starting a quarterback. I mean, yeah, absolutely. All it takes is just making the playoffs, man. That's all it takes. And at least his cards are going to triple and be of relevance again, at the very least. Nonetheless, and then all you got to do is get there. And anything can happen once you get to the postseason. So, it's wide open.
As long as he shows off, even if they don't make the playoffs, the next few weeks, all the eyes are going to be on a lot of these teams in the playoff hunt. As long as he plays well and puts up numbers, his value is going to go up, because now maybe the Washington football team, maybe they actually have more faith in Haskins. Let's not forget, He was the first round pick last year. They still have him under control for 3 more years. That's why I was shocked that they benched him so quickly. I mean, I wasn't super high on Haskins coming into the season. I thought he was overdrafted, but at the same time,
didn't think he was going to get benched though. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, he even actually kind of played okay. He actually was okay for spurts this season. I think he had like 300 yards passing and no interceptions, and they benched him, which.
Hey man, you know what? My opinion, just because, like you said, I was surprised when it happened so early in the year, and thinking they'd ride him out regardless, just to see what they had and whatever, especially with the new regime in. But Ron Rivera, great leader, great coach. He's got a good quarterbacks coach there too, Ken Zampese. He's probably I think it's just probably one of those things. It's probably just a leadership technique, a long-term play with Dwayne. Like, let's break them now. Let's break them down now. Let them be not even dress them. Yeah, no, for real though. It really, to me, that's what my humble opinion is on it. I think it's one of those. That's a method to the madness of it, of trying to break him and build him back up into the man they think he could be and player they think he could be. And hey, we got 3 more games in the division wide open, and he's at the driver's seat. So we'll see. We'll see what comes of it here in the next few weeks.
Yeah. We talked way too much about Dwayne Haskins. I think we probably broke the record for most the podcast or vlogcast, what you want to call us, outside Washington, talked the most about Dwayne Haskins. We just broke that record.
Hey, a lot of people bought a lot of his cards though, and sent them out for grading a little early on in the summer in the off season. So
they got to be
They got to be thinking about it too. Yeah. And there's a holiday sale that applies on that autograph too.
You're right.
Just saying, on cardsart.com.
Promo code holidays 20.
If you're gonna have me on, at least I can do is help you plug the site.
I appreciate it, brother. All right, so let's stop talking about Haskins. Let's talk about a couple guys near and dear to your heart. Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. I think we'll talk a little bit more about Derrick Henry later on in the episode, but Ryan Tannehill, is he one of those guys where even if he wins a Super Bowl, that's a beautiful card, even if he plays really well, has his value kind of spiked? Because I've thought about this earlier when I was putting together our show notes. I think there's a lot of guys, and I want to call it the pre-Prism guys, the pre-2017 Prism guys that, 2017 and to now is considered like ultra modern. So the pre-ultra modern guys, where Tannehill was a rookie in 2012 with the Dolphins, obviously didn't get back into the collector's good graces until last year. I just think it's kind of like, it's not cool to collect him. It's not fun to collect him. Will his value ever really reach the level of, say, a Kyler Murray, even if Tannehill somehow brings the Titans, into the Super Bowl?
I mean, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take competing at that level, at least getting there, I think, to put him at the level, to get him in that quarterback upper echelon, or at least near it. I think, the prospect of what could be and the allure of the young players, that, like you said, that's lost because everybody's got the bad taste of the Miami years in the mouth, with him. But I think that, results don't lie, and he's winning and he's slinging it and he's doing really well. He's not turning the ball over. So yeah, I think it's going to take team success up and to at least getting to the Super Bowl to get his individual value up, because he can do the same thing again and make it far, but not quite there. And I think it won't get that much more. His numbers aren't gaudy enough. It's not like he's throwing 4 to 5 TDs.
He can put up gaudy numbers. We've seen it. I mean, when they're not feeding Derrick Henry, he's put up 4 or 5 touchdowns. So I got a question for you, though. You said the stink of the Dolphins. Do you think, take your Titans glasses off for a second.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, that's hard, but I'll try.
Do you think today, if he plays well with the Titans, a card with him in a Titans uniform, maybe with an autograph or maybe a low number parallel, is actually more wanted, more valuable than a rookie card with an autograph in the Dolphins uni?
Yes. And because they associate that with lack of success, and him playing bad is when you see him in the Dolphins. But when you see him in the Titans, it's a whole different Tannehill, and the success and the reason why he's relevant is in the Titans uni. And I think the fact that he's only been there, 2 years is way more appealing than any rookies of his or his first 5 years in the league. Yeah, I do think that success is what matters, and I think that's why.
That's interesting, because I'm torn on that, because I'm just trying to think of guys in the hobby. I mean, obviously with Tom Brady going from New England to Tampa Bay, it's different because he was so good in New England. I'm just trying to think. I mean, who's a player off the top of your head who really struggled, kind of like Tannehill did with his first team, but broke out in his second team that was good to the hobby. I'm at a loss right now for that because it's kind of like a lot of times guys just stick around.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, Mike Vick, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, that was a whole new success story.
Yeah.
He broke out for a little bit. That's a tough question. I mean, that's something that we'll definitely have to put some sort of poll on our Instagram account because I do think that's a really interesting conversation to have. And it's because nowadays, like we've talked about the John Morant, the teabag card that we talked about last week. A lot of people now all of a sudden are into cards that look cooler, and maybe people think it looks cooler that Tannehill is in a Titans uniform as opposed to any other jersey. A good one for you, Danny Amendola. I mean, as a Patriots fan, I could care less about him in a Rams uniform. He wasn't very good with the Rams. I would love to have his autograph in a Patriots uniform because he won 2 Super Bowls with the Patriots. He's a huge factor in the Patriots' success. Obviously, I'm a Patriots fan, so it's a little bit different. Kind of like the same thing with Wes Welker. When he was with the Chargers and the Dolphins his rookie year, they released his Contenders auto, a couple other autos. I would love to get. I have his Contenders auto because I think it's a really cool, unique card because he's an undrafted free agent. But
right.
I think that in the hobby, a Patriots autograph holds so much more weight because he was such a dynamic player with the Patriots. But again, kind of the same thing with you and Ryan Tannehill. I'd like to figure out a guy who wasn't part of the squad that I cheer for before I make that that connection. So
shout out to whoever's yelling at us right now with somebody obvious that we're missing.
I know. Thank you.
Well, it'll hit us later, but yeah. I've been literally
below. Comment below, hit subscribe, comment below. Tell us we're idiots first, and then tell us who we're forgetting. I mean,
yeah, okay? I was a third listening to you, and 2/3 trying to think of somebody. But I'm really kind of flummoxed is to think of who it would be. I don't know.
Again, so what we're asking the tens and tens of fans that we have here at cardsar.com, comment below on a player that sucked with their original team or with a team, and then ended up getting a lot of success with the next team. I'm not talking Randy Moss because he was a stud with the Vikings, and obviously he was great with the Patriots. Yes, he had that year or a few years with the Raiders where he was trashed. We want a player that sucked with their original team and eventually went elsewhere and became great. Don't say Peter Warrick because he didn't make it happen with the Seahawks, unfortunately, or the Calgary Stampeders or whoever he played for in the CFL. But
like Chris Carter like practically got cut from the Eagles and then went to the Vikings. It was a Hall of Famer, but I feel like that's kind of it's a little different too. It's a different era, exactly. It's kind of harder, especially with Tannehill. Think about how many like even Dolphins rookie cards there are. Nonetheless, like Dolphins era cards from when he was there, patches, autos. He was a quarterback, a ton of them. Like, I mean, those things, are I would think infinitely cheaper than a Titans auto right now. Save for maybe some really cool rookies or something. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to think about. We'll have to Google it when we're done with this. And
drop the comment below. I'm sure. We'll be texting each other at 7 a.m. tomorrow. Like, we're idiots. All right, a couple other guys before we move on to the next topic. We were both high on. We talked a lot about these guys offline. Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray. Both were playing. Well, Russell Wilson was playing at MVP level for a little bit, kind of fell off. It's not totally his fault. Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, we're going to talk about in a second, really blew up. Russ, he was hot. I mean, he was hot at the beginning of the year. He kind of dipped down a little bit, but the Seahawks are a true Super Bowl contender. And I think that we could start to see, his Prism rookie card go into the thousands potentially, which is crazy to think about. I bought his rookie for $20, got it graded at a 9. Thought about selling it for like $600, but I want to hold on to it. And again, it's one of those things where I wanted to maximize the value on it because I was only into it for $20. If I was into it for a lot more and I need to get my money back, different story. Would have sold it for like the $600-700 is going for, but into it for 20, whatever. Let's see how he does. And worst case scenario, I got a great card. But Kyler Murray hasn't not been the same since he got his shoulder crunched. Is he a guy that you think can lead the Cardinals into the playoffs, let alone a deep run in the playoffs?
Man, it's tough. It's tough. It's only a few weeks left, and then, as we know, everything's kind of crowded right now. But I don't know, man. I wouldn't put it past them. I mean, it's just squeezing into that wild card is all it takes is 2 out of 3 wins here. I mean, it's very I don't know their schedule off the top of my head, but I'm not going to count that kid out from what I've seen so far. I mean, even if you're right, he hasn't looked the same with a little bit since his shoulder got banged up a little bit. But I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, one guy. Now I got a good buddy, huge Bears fan. Mitch Trubisky coming in, throwing a couple. I think he had 3 touchdowns last week against Houston.
Right.
I rocked him in my 2 quarterback league. I played him. I got him this week. I'm probably not going to play him because I picked up Jalen Hurts. He was hot, not this past offseason, but last year. I mean, his stuff was going for crazy, crazy money. Do the Bears have an opportunity or a chance to turn this guy around and turn him back into a player, or is that ship sailed? And is he a guy who we can talk about who sucked with his original team but turned into a star elsewhere?
Maybe, man. I don't know. I haven't seen anything to really make me believe that he's going to be among the upper echelon. But when you have a defense like that, and if you have a good running game, anything's possible. If all you got to do is manage the game, make some short throws, get some first downs, help move the chains, and not blow it too badly. Anything's possible. But as far as we're thinking from an absolute stud, a guy that carries the game, carries the team when you need him most, can pull something out of nothing. From what I've seen personally, I don't think so, and I'm not gonna let 1-3 TD game of recency bias make me think otherwise. As much as I want to root for a Northeast Ohio kid, I'm sure he's a good kid. I just from what I've seen, if we're talking about all these other names, these upper echelon guys, I don't see it.
Yeah, I'm not invested in him whatsoever. He just seems like a good dude. He seems like he's kind of gotten a raw deal.
Right. Agreed.
I think that I was shocked at how bad, Matt Nagy's been for that team. I thought that coming out of Kansas City, he was going to, take what turned Mahomes into a star or learn something under Andy Reid and turn it around. And Chicago just, they paid $20 million and they traded a draft pick. They could have got Cam Newton for like $1 million. So
right.
I don't know what's going on there. I think that he just needs a change of scenery. I don't think he will ever turn into one of those upper echelon guys. I think he's good enough to be a starter in the NFL. I also do think that because of his 2 reasons why I think he'll have some sort of relevance to the hobby. Number one is his draft class, 2017. I've pounding the table about this is the trickle-down effect of Mahomes' Prism rookie, I think, really trickles down on the rest of that draft class, the rest of that set, kind of like the 86, 87 Fleer, Jordan cards. Every other card in that set is worth more because of the Jordan. I think the same could be said about Trubisky in that draft class. And even if he's just good enough, I still think that card will hold value, is $20 to $30 value. His autograph could be worth, $50 to $100 depending on the set. And again, will that be in Chicago? Probably not. They did not pick up the contract.
And that's all well and good, but was he taken 2nd overall?
They traded up for him. They traded up for him.
So what's the value there? I'm hearing those. Okay, yeah, that holds the value of the guy you took in the late first round. That was a flash in the pan. You thought was going to be awesome, but turns out to be steady. Number 2 overall, that was taking over a potential Hall of Famer, and who knows what Deshaun Watson will be. Right. That's the bottom line, because that's always who he's going to be compared to, buddy. No matter where he goes or what, unless he wins it, unless he goes and wins a championship. Or at least competes for one and goes to a Super Bowl and on a team, he's always just going to be compared to the other 2.
You know what people don't talk about in that draft is Leonard Fournette went 4th in that draft.
Yeah.
You think they'd want, Deshaun Watson or Patrick Mahomes or even Christian McCaffrey? McCaffrey went in. Like, that's the crazy thing about it. That draft is so loaded.
That's a good segue real quick, because there's another guy that I forgot to mention, but there's a 2017 draft guy, a guy that's got to benefit from a good playoffs at a good season that he's having. And I know I'm biased, but this is so true and relevant. Corey Davis, 5th overall.
Yeah.
Corey Davis, the Goff pick. I mean, the guy's having a really good year. It's a contract year for him.
Is that our guy? That's our guy. That's our guy.
That could be the guy.
That's
I mean, although he hasn't been bad for the Titans, but he hasn't been 5th overall good. He hasn't been 5th overall good. I agree with you.
And he's going to get
a guy
contract. He's going to go somewhere else.
Somebody's going to pay him. He does all. He's a good guy. He's a great route runner, great catcher. He blocks like a freaking tight end out there. He's awesome. Yep. And there's some GM that's licking his chops right now, thinking I'm going to throw the book at him and have him on the team.
Well, they might I mean, the Titans could franchise him.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know, man. I haven't got that far ahead, but I do keep the hoping we keep him. But I'm more worried about the Lions this week in the playoff push than I am that yet. I still at least got 4 good games with Corey Davis on the squad.
Yeah. I'll tell you that draft class is phenomenal. One night we'll do a special about that draft class because it's going to go down as one of the best ever. I mean, Chris Carson was in that draft class. He was like I think he was undrafted or something like that, or a late round pick. So, all right. So 2 guys that we alluded to briefly, that it's basically a 1-2 race for MVP.
Yeah.
And it's 2 guys who, one is what we talked about, the ultra modern era, and the other guy is the modern era. We're talking Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers.
I thought you were going to say Derrick Henry and Derrick Henry.
Well, clearly Derrick Henry, but we'll get there in a second.
We'll get there, yeah.
I mean, he probably is the most valuable player. I still say Dak Prescott's the most valuable player in the league, but whatever.
Well, yeah, this season Derrick's 3. We'll get there. You're right. But keep going. You're right.
But this beautiful Patrick Mahomes card available on cardsr.com, BGS9. Picked it up at Anderson's Cards and Collectibles in Manchester, New Hampshire on South Willow Street. Go check it out. It's funny where it's a 1-2 race. I don't care what you say. You cannot say another person other than Derrick Henry that is considered an MVP in my mind. I'm saying it tongue in cheek about Dak Prescott, of course, because the team is so bad without him. But the fact is that Rodgers and Mahomes are healthy and is absolutely dominating. Rodgers might have got the leg up after Mahomes' 3 interception game this week, but it's funny. I thought about this. I mean, Mahomes' stuff is just it's high and it's only gonna get higher. Rodgers' stuff is still not that high right now. And I don't see, even if they win the Super Bowl, I really don't think that his stuff is going to creep up anymore. Or it'll go up a little bit, but the generation nowadays, the Gen Z generation, and I posted a meme earlier about a guy that we're going to talk about and who the Gen Z era invests in. But it's all about what you've done for me lately. People forget that Aaron Rodgers has won an MVP. He's won a Super Bowl. He's one of the, if it weren't for Brett Favre being ahead of him for 4 years, he would have been breaking records at the pace of, Tom Brady, Drew Brees. But I just think that he's kind of capped because he's like a 37-year-old guy. There's no potential other than a Super Bowl or 2, maybe, that he could win an MVP or 2, maybe. He's got a short shelf life. Is that wise to not invest in guys like him right now, who've already kind of cemented their legacy? Or do you think it's better to go after a guy like Mahomes who has another 15 years left in the league?
You know what? But I think it's better to go after Rodgers because I'll tell you why. If he's going to be a Hall of Famer, no question. He's got a ring. He's got an MVP. We talked about that. So that's the floor right now.
Right.
Now he's competing he's got a chance to put him in another championship this year and probably in the next few years to what the situation they've got set up in Green Bay. So, I mean, to me, he's more accessible right now. And if Mahomes' career, God forbid, ends this year, God forbid, no one wants that to happen. But I'm just saying, if it ends, he's not a Hall of Famer. He's Bo Jackson. He's, right. You wonder what if. But Rodgers has the floor is lower. So if his cards are more accessible right now, and those are only get better, the floor is already here, and it's only going to get better. It might not go all the way crazy if he doesn't win another ring or whatever, but he's still in one of the greatest franchises with the biggest fan bases, and he's got the credentials. He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. So to me, that's the one maybe. But maybe I'm just more of a safer investor, like in that sense, But to me, if you can get a couple Rodgers autos some rare stuff like from him for the same price as one Mahomes, I mean, to me, I would go for that, but that's just my humble opinion. But I think it's 1A, 1B. You can flip a coin who's going to win the MVP. I think if Rodgers shreds up the Titans on Sunday Night Football next week and wins 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3, then I think maybe he might have a leg up and get the 1 seed. He might have a leg up and end up winning it. I think otherwise, maybe Mahomes probably will win it, unless King Henry goes off for 600 yards in the last 3 games and the Titans go 3-0. That ain't going to happen. So I definitely was joking about that. I'm not that much of a homer, but I think
2,000 yards. You get to 2,000 yards. Be the second Titans running back to 2,000 yards.
Right. So, and then they're playing the Lions this week, so he could easily run rampant there.
Get 600 yards against the Lions. He very well could.
I hope so. But I could also see him. It just depends on how things shake out. If he doesn't have to play Week 17 against the Texans, then why would you bother if there's no bye in play? So, but anyway, I think if Rodgers goes, could go 3-0 and have that national TV game, the voters will kind of swoon for him a little more and go Rodgers, thinking he might deserve it this year.
Mm-hmm.
But if he doesn't, and if Mahomes maybe goes 3-0 instead, he goes 2-1 or 1-2, then it'll be Mahomes to take, I think. But at this point, I think the voters are just waiting to see how it plays out between those two. And Henry's a distant third unless he does something miraculous. But other than that, I can't think of anybody who would really be in play.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could make the case for Russell Wilson over Henry just because of the position, but I just think that Russ has struggled so much the past few weeks, and he has a tough schedule these next few weeks too. So I think he might get a few votes here and there. It's not going to be unanimous by any stretch of the imagination, especially with the storyline that, Russ has never got an MVP. Well, MVP vote. It's because of Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady. I mean, all these guys who
right. Just to name a few, yeah.
Right. So it's tough, obviously. But I do agree with you here. I think that if I can find some Rodgers autographs, some Rodgers rookies, I picked up a nice Rodgers autograph. I've been searching for one of those for my PC for a while. I think that it's a safer bet than Mahomes, though I do think that Mahomes will eventually go down as the greatest of all time. But if you're looking at your investment per se, you want to say what's the safest investment? Well, it's certainly Aaron Rodgers. If you want to talk about a more volatile upside investment, I don't know,
right,
we'll try to get LaMelo Ball or something like that.
Wow, yeah.
All right, so MVP be interesting. Some guys who lead us into the playoffs, but offensive player of the year, always clearly it's an offensive league. People love offensive players. So they're high on the guys that put up gaudy stats. We talked about Derrick Henry could rush for 2,000 yards. Very well could be. Oh, I love the inscription set. I'm so happy you got one of those. He certainly can be the offensive player of the year. Alvin Kamara, who is pretty much in all fantasy leagues, even with Drew Brees being injured, still is the number one wide receiver or running back. Alvin Kamara, good opportunity to win that. His stuff is still so incredibly undervalued, and I don't get it. I mean,
me either.
You can get his rookie autographs for like $60. Kind of like LaDainian Tomlinson, Marshall Faulk. He's in the same vein as those guys, but this year he's not just a receiver; he's a runner too. He's going to rush for over 1,000 yards, no question.
Right.
I don't get it. It makes no sense to me because running backs usually are second fiddle to quarterbacks when it comes to value. So I really don't know why Kamara is not higher than he is.
But I mean, King Henry's cards are a lot higher right now, and I would say, I mean, I know I'm biased, but I think the two of them are equal. Them and Dalvin Cook are really the top 3 running backs in the game right now. So why wouldn't Kamara's cards be higher? More towards where Derrick Henry's are.
The clear echelon of Henry, and then you got Kamara, Cook. I mean, even Cook's under Kamara, and I can't explain that because Cook. I think you can make the argument that Derrick Henry is your traditional running back, your power running back. We've seen the optics of him.
The boss.
Oh,
Keep talking. Go ahead.
We've seen the optics of him throwing Josh Norman down like a rag doll. You don't see that from Kamara. You don't see that. But you do kind of see it from Dalvin Cook a little bit here and there. Maybe the traditional just, the smash mouth running back is what appeals to more people. I'm not sure because I just – for two guys in Dalvin Cook and Alvin Kamara, who are going to finish with more yards from scrimmage than Derrick Henry, but and Cook's gonna have more touchdowns than Derrick Henry. I don't get why Dalvin Cook isn't higher. It makes no sense to me.
It must just be that extra edge with kind of the casual hobby, if you will, the people that are kind of coming into it, looking for the biggest names, looking to get in, and Derrick Henry highlights are all over YouTube and Twitter and Instagram and everywhere else, more so than Kamara highlights. I mean, Kamara's got way more TDs. I can't remember the last time I've seen one on my feed. Scroll up, but I've seen. I obviously follow the Titans and stuff, but I remember seeing Cook highlights more so than even Kamara ones, and he's pretty much the best fantasy back in the league, like you said. So I don't get it either, man. It must be that extra edge with something like that. Just kind of the casual hobbyists and everybody that's into it right now, looking for the best and the brightest names, and maybe that's what's getting the edge for a guy like Henry, because those Josh Normans and the Earl Thomas highlights and the stuff that's being played over and over and over.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I can never get enough of.
I wanted to say Devontae Adams is going to be one of my offensive players.
I was going to say him. Yes, I'm so glad you brought him up.
And stud, absolute stud. Missed some time, which I think is going to hurt him a little bit when it's all said and done, even though he's got –
his numbers don't seem like he missed any
I know.
time.
He's got like 20 more catches than Tyreek Hill. He's got 2 less total touchdowns because Tyreek's got 2 rushing touchdowns. But both guys have 14 touchdowns receiving, which is crazy. I just think that Devontae is just one of those. He's the perfect Packer. Like, he's just very quiet. He just gets it done, and he's not flashy. He's just a little faster than everybody else, a little bigger than everybody else, but he's not like a Tyreek Hill where he's 4.3 40, backflipping into the end zone, chucking deuces as he goes into the end zone. So I don't, and his value, people just don't buy his stuff, which is just asinine if you ask me. But they do buy Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey, are 2 guys that could have been Offensive Player of the Year. So I've seen Tyreek Hill stuff go up significantly this year too. I think it's once they got over the whole issues he had at home, I think are turning to him again.
Right. The highlights have piled up, and that stuff has been in the rear view. So that'll help. Yeah. The recency bias always plays into it. The thing I like about Devontae Adams is both of these guys we're talking about have the 2 best quarterbacks. We're talking about MVP. So let's throw that out. But seems like Tyreek Hill always gets open because he's just insanely athletic, and he's just so wide open and finds these spots. Devontae will catch the ball over you, behind him, underneath. He's just incredible. He's just incredible. He catches everything. His catch radius is everywhere. He just attacks the ball just before any defender even knows it's coming. And I watch him so much because I have him on every fantasy team, so I feel like I'm always pulling him up, and I'm just like, this guy's unbelievable. Not just because he has Aaron Rodgers slinging it to him, because we've seen Valdez-Scantling and some of those other guys and Lazard before he got hurt. I mean, they're pretty good, but they're not as consistent as Devontae Adams. They're not catching the ball every time. It's pretty much thrown to him.
A lot like him. A lot like me in intramural football. Let's be honest.
Let's be honest. And the other thing about Devontae is watching the game, the Packer game. He caught Rodgers' 400th touchdown, and he mentioned he caught his 200th too. And I'm like, holy crap! That means Devontae's been on the team for a long time. I didn't realize that either. That's pretty cool.
He's been at least since 2013.
I mean, that's crazy. 7 years, and now he's like, to me, the best he's ever been by far this year too. He's just absolutely insane. Like, I took him into keeper leagues at 6 overall, and it seems like I got a deal because it's just every week he has TDs, and he missed 2 weeks, but every week he's got a touchdown. Otherwise, it seems like I could always count on him for at least a dozen.
There's 2 big whiffs I had this year in fantasy. First one was Alvin Kamara. I said that he actually got an epidural in his back, so I'm like, that can't be good because he's not delivering anytime soon. So I took Zeke over him. I had him,
tough.
I had him like 5th or 6th overall on my board. I had Dalvin Cook, I think, behind Zeke as well. Not ideal, but I also had Devontae Adams. I had him as a early 2nd round pick, and I'm regretting that. I was never in an opportunity to really draft him, fortunately, but still looking back at my ranking, it's like, ugh, that wasn't fun.
Especially sandwiched between those 2.
What's that?
Especially when you took Zeke sandwiched around the other 2. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. And one guy too, I mentioned Travis Kelsey. I mean, I had him ranked as probably, with wide receivers and tight ends grouped together, I probably had him as like my fourth wide receiver. And that was a mistake too, because I think that he's one of the most valuable non-quarterbacks in the league. What he brings to that team is a lot. And this is going to sound crazy. Okay. Crazy for me. But
that's saying something.
If you put his career up next to Rob Gronkowski's, as a Patriots fan, I think I'd take Travis Kelsey over Gronk.
So if you think Travis Kelsey played when Gronk did in his spot, he would have way bigger numbers than Gronk did?
I think that if Travis Kelsey were with the Patriots, he would have been on the field a hell of a lot more than Gronk, which says a lot.
Oh, okay.
Now, with that being said, if Gronk stayed healthy, I think no doubt, slam dunk, he would have been the number one tight end over Travis Kelsey of all time. And I'm not saying Kelsey's the number one tight end of all time. I'm also not saying Gronk is. I think Tony Gonzalez is. But if Kelsey was a Patriot, I mean, it doesn't matter. He'd still be putting up the same numbers. I'm just saying that I think that overall his career has been better than Rob Gronkowski's. The one thing that and it's because of injuries and solely because of injuries, but the one thing is Gronk still was a much better blocker. I mean, Kelsey's a great blocker on the outside, but he won't line up on the inside like Gronk did. I mean, the big reason why the Patriots won the Super Bowl against the Rams was because Gronk blocked. And if Gronk didn't block, then they weren't going to win that Super Bowl. They were a running team that year, and that's because they had two left tackles lining up, essentially. So,
right. That barn burner of a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. All right. So real quick, we're running along here, but I want to talk about a few more things. Offensive rookie of the year. I mean, obviously Justin Jefferson, perfect example. I bought his gold standard auto for $60. It's going for $100 now. Guy's a stud, absolute stud. He's putting up Randy Moss type numbers when Randy was a rookie, Odell Beckham, all those guys. He's having a historical season. Tua playing well, good, not great, but Justin Herbert has been playing fantastic, though he has struggled the last 2 weeks. Those three guys are the three rookies. I think, they're going to see their value creep up. It's probably Justin Herbert to win the rookie of the year, though I think that Jefferson really deserves it compared to the rest of the rookies.
Quarterback bias kills me, man, because I agree. I think Jefferson deserves it without a question. He stepped in and has been Pro Bowl caliber pretty much since week one. He's been so solid every week. He's a ton of catches, ton of yards. He's in the end zone. Like, to me, there's no reason why he shouldn't be the rookie of the year, but it's a quarterbacks league. We know it. And the guy, other two have been playing really well. I mean, interesting to see. To me, Herbert might be having a better numbers year, but if Tua comes in and leads the Dolphins to the playoffs, I mean, it depends on what the voters are going to value more. So numbers on a bad team, or are they going to number a kid that came in, spark plugged him, and led him to the playoffs?
In Herbert's defense, Anthony Lynn's his coach.
Yeah, well,
I feel like
they somehow still is.
But I still think it's Justin Jefferson. I think that no questions asked, he should be the rookie of the year. It ain't going to happen because Justin Herbert has played basically 16 games as a starter for the Chargers. And I think that gives him a leg up on Tua. And Herbert's stuff is going crazy right now. It's not going to go down anytime soon. If you're interested in a Justin Herbert autograph, I highly suggest you go to cardzar.com. Check out the Rookies and Stars box break that we did. That's also on our Instagram or our YouTube page. Number to 35. Not too shabby. Pulled that. I'm very happy with that. I don't even know what I want for it. I have it listed at $600, a best offer on eBay. Make me an offer because I don't know what I want to sell it for.
Well, not only that, but you pulled the other guy, Tua. You pulled a Tua auto in the Rookie and Stars too.
Where's it, Tua? QRST. I got everything. There we go. I got two.
I thought I was hot. I pulled a bunch of Herberts out of my mosaic and Don Russ, and you get like 2 boxes of Rookies and Stars and get a Tua patch auto and a Herbert.
I got 3, and I got a 101 Donovan Peoples-Jones, which sold. So, he had 2 big catches.
He did have 2 big catches. He had a really big one against the Titans too, unfortunately.
I will say this, though. I'm not a fan of this year's Dress for Success. I thought it's a very blah design. In the past, they've made it so you actually see the jersey hanging up in the locker room. It's just kind of cool. Clearly not the same jersey they use because it's cheap like that. But this was kind of like a blah patch, but it's still 2 number 75. Cool card. I like it. All right. Defensive player of the year, Chase Young. It's not even close. We got nothing else to say about that, right?
So, not even close, man. He's good. I haven't hit any good Chase Youngs, but I do love me some Donruss because it's accessible.
Oh, yeah.
And got a lot of cool inserts and stuff. And I've hit a few cheap Chase Youngs, but you're right. There's no contest. The kid's just affects the game in so many different ways, and it just fills up the stat sheet every week. He's so solid. He's a freak.
First career touchdown
awesome.
last week. Yep, phenomenal. Anderson Cards and Collectibles. Our Anderson Cards and Memorabilia on South Willow Street in Manchester does have a beautiful Chase Young Genesis coming back from PSA. So if you're in the
right, you hit that in the pack, didn't you?
I did, and I traded it for a Jason Tatum autograph, which I ended up trading for a bunch of Mosaic that you can find on cardsr.com. Come on and check it out. It all comes back full circle to cardsr.com. All right. So we got a question from an account that I really like on Instagram. They just hit 5,000 followers. Congrats, Nate. DRC Collector. He loves collecting Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie. He loves collecting Josh Norman. He also has a great podcast. The card
good Pokemon too.
What's that? A Pokemon?
He's got good Pokemon. Yeah, for sure.
I don't know anything about Pokemon, so that's you. That's all you. But he had a good question for us. What is your prediction for the hobby in 2021?
Oh man, more of the same for a while until all of us are and life is normal again. It's going to be more of the same for a while. I think everybody's home, everybody's in, everybody's got eyes on TV and the screens more than ever, and the hobby's still surging. It's still going strong. I mean, it's not like the prisms aren't selling, even though the prices are insane.
Yep.
It's not like the basketball hobby boxes and packs aren't selling, even though the prices are astronomical. They're all selling. So I don't think it's going anywhere as long as
the rookie draft class sucks this year too. And I'm shocked the NBA is as popular as it is, but that's just the nature of the hobby. So.
And basketball's just becoming more and more popular, frankly, with the younger generation too. Kids are like 13, 14 and up here, coming up and just be able to get on the internet and have money and do stuff. They're buying basketball cards, I think, too. Basketball is surging as well. But so I think it'll be more of the same in the hobby. I do think eventually, once COVID subsides and life gets back to normal, a lot of the casual people are dipping their toe back into it because they're finding time and stuff to do. We'll get back out of it a little bit maybe, but I mean, I don't think you just dive back out into it either. I don't think there's gonna be like a crash or anything like that. I mean, I think it's reignited the fire in a lot of people that had it at one point in their lives, and that just doesn't go away. I mean, I'll have less money to blow on impeccables and cards when I'm having to go out on dates with the wife again and take her out and on the town and everything. But bottom line is I'm still going to be wanting to get cards and everything, I would think too. And I would think that'll be the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen is to your point, all the new people into the hobby aren't going to just rush out. That's not going to happen. Though I do think a lot of people getting into it solely to make a buck because they think that, oh, this is a really easy, low barrier of entry to get into, very cheap barrier of entry to get into. Once they realize it's not as easy as, oh, I'm going to hit a Luka rookie or I'm going to hit, a Kyler Murray auto in every pack, every box, and I'm paying $1,000. Like once they get that first box that they like the first Prism box they buy for $1,000 and they only get $200 worth of stuff out of it, there's going to be a lot of those people like, this ain't for me. I don't want to do this anymore. And I think that's going to bring things back to earth. The days of us getting hobby boxes of Prism for $150, $170, those days are gone. That's not going to happen, unfortunately. I think that eventually you're going to see the prices on the secondary market come down from $1,000. Is it going to be a $400 to $500 box? Probably. Again, not great, not ideal. But I think that for the longest time, Prism boxes at $150, $170 were actually undervalued. I think they were probably worth closer to $200 to $300. Now that we're seeing a market, more people into it, $400 to $500 seems realistic for that. I also think you're going to see the base card market take a hit. The second-year Patrick Mahomes Prism card, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that card is worth as much as it is right now. It's a $40 card, which is crazy. We get a PSA 10, it's a couple $100. Great, awesome. I love seeing more money come to the hobby. Once people realize that a second-year card is cool, but it's not a rookie, it's not an autograph, it's a second-year card. It's got a print run of probably, I don't know, 1 million, a lot. Like, once people realize that that's not rare whatsoever, and you can probably go to a show, there's gonna be more shows that show up, there's gonna be more stores opening up, or more stores, not having to shut down, and you can go through a dollar box and find the same card. You're not gonna spend $40 on that on eBay. I think
Right.
that changed too. And because I've already seen like the second tier guys, like a DeAndre Swift. I mean, when this card first came out from XR, probably a $60-$70 card. It's probably a $30 to $40 card right now, and that's a fair value for a second round pick out of Georgia. Having success his rookie year. A card numbered to 49, or I'm sorry, not even that. It's numbered to 149. That's a $40 card. That's a fair price. That's not a $60-$70 card. So I think you're going to start to see that definitely come down. Things will, but there's always going to be a guy that people are going to be chasing after. Whether Mahomes' autograph is in, the 2021 Donruss Optic or whatever, that's still going to be a card that people want, and rightfully so, because that's just a really cool card, and he's one of the best players. It could be one of the best players of all time. So I think that should be worth lots of money. Now, Joe Blow, Gilbert Brown is still a $5 autograph. I bought a Gilbert Brown autograph the other day because you know what? He was hilariously fat growing up. I wanted Gilbert Brown, and I wish I had it in front of me, and I don't, unfortunately. But I bought a Gilbert Brown autograph. But
was it Illusions by chance?
It was not. It was Donruss, your favorite.
I do love me some Donruss.
Or maybe it was Score. It was one of those. Either way, it was cheap. It was very cheap. Okay, so we talked about hyped up players, and I think in closing, because this is going a little long, but we had some good conversation. We talked about a lot tonight. Hyped up players in the time of COVID, in the time of the internet, where everybody is accessible to highlights, to watching stuff on Twitter, to guys like LeBron James hyping up a certain player we're going to talk about. I mean, we saw Drew Lock, Jarrett Stidham this offseason with the opportunity for them to become the next star in the NFL. We saw their prices skyrocket. Well, guess what? Jarrett Stidham couldn't even beat out a broke-ass Cam Newton. Drew Lock is mediocre at best with a few flares here and there. People who spent thousands of dollars on their rookie cards, autograph cards, certainly lost their shirt on that. I mean, brutal. Last year in the NBA, we saw Bol Bol, Manute Bol's son, who played well in a scrimmage. Granted, in the middle of COVID, where people were bored, people spent a lot of money on Bol Bol. This year, I have to keep on looking down at our little notes here because I keep on forgetting his name. Talen Horten-Tucker, the 46th overall pick in 2019. Talen Horton-Tucker's cards are going for his 101 gold vinyl from 2019-20 Contenders Optics sold for $3,000. $3,000. Other autographs going for $1,000 plus. Talen Horton-Tucker, he had a 33-point game. He had a 19-point game in the preseason. And LeBron hyped him up as, this kid is special. Guess what? LeBron said a lot of bullshit in his career, okay? Sorry, Cavs fans. What is going on?
How many Aaron Rodgers autographs could you have got for that price, you think?
So many. I could have bought the $3,000. On my watch list alone, I could have got 3 Aaron Rodgers autographs. That's love.
Well, maybe I like to think a lot of people just watch the NBA G League and know about all the talent that's coming from there in the future of basketball. But I think
mainly from the Canton Charge due to someone's leadership.
Mainly because yes, the Canton Charge are a model franchise, but I mean, you know what? Basketball is the hottest sport. Like we talked about, the hype is real at the hobby. The Lakers just won the title, and the Lakers are the Lakers. You know, they already draw ridiculous fan bases out, and I think we're just seeing the hobby hype at its peak right there. I think that's what it is. I think that's the COVID hobby peak right there. $90 for Drew Lock prisms and Stidham prisms in the summer, and and Talen Horten-Tucker and other preseason superstars will be booming for 4 figures here, and that's just the peak of the hobby in 2020, and we'll be talking about that for a long time. I think, no matter how good Talen Horten-Tucker ends up being, because he could be a good player. He very well could be somewhat special. I don't know how special he'd be for 4-figure cards, but we'll see. But I think that's just the peak. I think this is a microcosm of 2020 in the hobby, I think, is what we're seeing with that.
Yeah, I just think that I'd rather spend $300 on a Drew Lock autograph card or a Prism 10, because at least he's a starter. He's a starting quarterback on an NFL team. Again, I have to look at his name. Talen Horten-Tucker he's playing in preseason games because he might not even make the roster for the Lakers. Now he will, because LeBron's the GM. We all know that. And we can have a whole other episode about LeBron James.
The Lakers just finished their season like 5 weeks ago, so they need anybody that wasn't on that team to be playing right now.
I will say this. One of my favorite eBay listings when I was going through the notes or going through my research to see what Talen Horten-Tucker is selling for, somebody in Canada, his eBay listing was Panini Prism Kyle Kuzma fire sale. He will lose his job to Talen Horten-Tucker. That was the listing title, which was phenomenal. I almost made an offer on the Kuzma card just because I loved it.
Just out of principle.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so interesting. I think that I get frustrated when I see, one of our favorite follows. We talk about him all the time. Tyler Sports Guy. He'll post, Jared Stidham autograph sold for $2,000. I could have bought this Joe Montana autograph for $2,000. And again, it's the risk reward thing we talked about earlier. If Talen Horten-Tucker turns into the next, Gilbert Arenas, is that his best case scenario? As a late 2nd round pick who turns into a star? That's probably what he's not going to be. He's not going to be that. I mean, he just is. Draymond Green, but even Draymond wasn't a star. Draymond was a third piece on, the dirty work guy who ran his mouth. I mean, yeah, it's just like, what's his potential? What's his upside? I just don't see it. And I'm not buying in. I'm not going to do. I'd rather buy a box of Prism football for $1,000 than buy a Talen Horten-Tucker autograph.
Oh, and what position does he play?
He's like a shooting guard, 6'4". He's a wing.
Yeah, I was gonna say he doesn't play. If he plays a small forward, I was like, I think I know somebody else on the Lakers that probably will eat up a lot of those small forward minutes over him. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's just like I said, I think it's a microcosm of 2020 in the hobby. It's it's just the hype is real with the hobby and with basketball, especially in quarterbacks. And I think we touched on it all there.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I don't think we're going to be talking about him in June or
I think
or July.
We'll be looking back on the clip of me freaking out and putting my mouth to the camera about Talen Horten-Tucker.
Although I will say the NBA G League knows how to develop talent, premium talent. They make an impact at the.
But you don't spend $3,000 on a card for a player who's developing. You spend $3,000 on a card for a player who's developed and winning championships and MVPs. That's what you do. You spend $3 on a guy developing.
That had to be a Lakers fan that watched the South Bay Lakers that just like all of a sudden if he starts banging out. I'm trying to think of why somebody, otherwise you never would have heard of him before last week. And it's like, you're going to spend 4 figures on somebody you never even heard of before last week.
That's the
unless you're following the G, and I hope they are following the G League, because that's the question I want answered more than wondering if he's going to be a Hall of Famer or an All-Star or not. Is how did you decide to go for? When did you hear about him? And then in that time frame, when did you spend 4 figures? Right. That's the question I want to know.
I hear him. All right, Hot Boy. Hey, we talked about a lot tonight. We had a good time. Yeah, we crushed it like usual. That's what we do. To the tens and tens of fans out there, like I said, hit us up in the comments. Let us know.
Speaking of tens.
Oh, beautiful. Let us know about that player that dominated or sucked with his original team, ended up dominating with a new team. This is going to kill us. I mean, obviously, we're saying Corey Davis is a potential.
Brett Favre, Falcons? Was he there long enough to count?
Yeah. Does that really count, though? I mean,
he was only there for like 1 year and got traded. I don't think that it's not like he lived out a contract and did it. I was trying to come at the buzzer there.
No, but that's what we're thinking about. A guy like Brett Favre, okay? A guy start off somewhere, sucked, ended up being a star. I mean, Brett Favre is just Chris Carter 2.0 essentially when it comes to that.
Right.
So, all right, guys. Hey, it's been fun. Subscribe below. Please share with all your friends. Follow us on YouTube, Cardsar. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Cardsar. Go to www.cardsar.com. Still plenty of time for you to get that loved one in your life, some great football cards, and we got basketball cards coming soon. So, with that being said, SP, until next time, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and guys, keep on collecting.